Hey, it's your girl Nicole, and you're listening to the Risers Hub podcast, where wellness, empowerment, and personal growth live. We continue our theme for the month of January, which is all about new beginnings and resolutions, goal setting, personal development, and fresh starts. I hope that everyone out there is doing well and taking care of themselves. And I also want to thank you for tuning in. You guys are the best. This week, I was researching for this podcast. I found this phrase that I've never heard before. It's called Quitter's Day. Have you guys ever heard of that? I haven't heard of that because I'm not a quitter. So it's when New Year's resolutions fail within the first 2 weeks of the year. Some say that the second Friday in January, we're in January, is called Quitter's Day because it's when people are most likely to give up on their New Year's resolutions. Now, folks, we're in the fourth week of January, and this is basically telling me that 2 weeks ago, a whole lot of us fizzled away our resolutions and goals. Well, I want to be here to help you guys to push through your goals and resolutions. Whether the goals were set last year and you stopped doing the action steps, or you set some goals at the beginning of this year and you stopped doing the action steps, or I don't know, it's just you just don't have the gusto that you had before. I'm hoping that this podcast helps you get back into it. Usually when goals fizzle away, there's a lack of commitment, the goals are vague, or there's lack of maintenance. And so if that's happening, y'all haven't been listening to this podcast. No, but seriously, those are the reasons why New Year's resolutions tend to fail. So today, we're going to unpack some important tools for anyone trying to make big changes or achieve meaningful goals. We're going to explore intrinsic motivation. We're going to redefine my favorite acronym, R.I.S E. And I'm also going to explain how the DISC personality model can really help you push through your goals and achieve them, because you really need to know who you are as you're working through your goals and you're writing them down and you're setting action steps. Then we're going to also tackle the tricky part, which is what I'm dealing with right now, pushing through action steps when you just don't feel like doing it. And it's not that I don't feel like doing it. It's just for some reason, I am stumbling over my words in the past couple of days. I am struggling because I have just started a 40-day fast. And I'm a little worried about it because it's a pretty strict 40-day fast. It's going to eliminate some food. I'm worried about my workout regime, and I don't want to be grumpy. So that's what I'm struggling with. That's what's on the back of my mind. And, I'm teaching everyone how to set goals. I'm teaching people how to push through things, and it's working for hundreds of people, but it needs to work for me too. And so this is why this particular podcast is really important, okay? So does all that sound good? I'm just being honest with you. All right, so let's jump right in. First, I want to talk about the fuel that drives everything that we do, and that's motivation. Now, there are many people who think motivation is a bunch of crap, and then there are other people who, they think motivation is the best thing since sliced bread. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm on both sides of that. And mainly because I believe in intrinsic motivation, internal motivation, but sometimes I do think that external motivation is kind of crappy because you have to want to do it. You can reward somebody and give somebody something because they did something, but that's like for short-term goals. Intrinsic motivation is the kind of drive that comes from within. Things we do because they're inherently satisfying or meaningful to us. Not for a reward, not because someone pushes us, but because we want to do it. Intrinsic motivation is powerful because it's aligned with our values and passions. And so that's something to think about as you're working through your goals, you're writing them down, and you're creating action steps. You have to make sure that it aligns with your values and your passions. Now, think about a time when you got lost in an activity. Maybe it was writing, painting, solving a problem, or, I don't know, just even running or taking a nice walk. That's intrinsic motivation at play. It's the backbone of sustainable progress, especially when you're pursuing long-term goals. But here's the catch. Even with intrinsic motivation, life throws us challenges. Okay? So, I have a question for you. What's one activity you love so much that you actually lose the track of time? Now, how can you bring that same energy when creating, conquering, and maintaining your goals? All right. So, traditionally, RISE stands for research, identify, strategize, and execute. And that's from the book Time to Rise, Get Fit, and Stay There. But today I'm going to add a little twist to it because I want to integrate the DISC personality model so that we can see what type of personality you have and how you can move through your goals and your action steps. So, first of all, before we start, I'm going to be asking you some open ended questions that you need to sit and think about and answer for yourself. There are no right or wrong answers because you have the answer, you know who you are, and I respect that you understand your whole life situation. So I'm going to start with there's nothing wrong with you being any of these personalities, okay? I am just questioning how you're pushing forward because I want you to start thinking about why am I not reaching this goal? Why am I not acting on my action steps? What's holding me back? What's slowing me down? What excuse do I have in order to move forward? And these are questions that I ask myself all the time when I'm working through the process of tackling a goal and actually reaching that goal. Okay. In the DISC model, of course, DISC is another acronym. There are 4 different personalities. There's the dominant personality, there's the inspiring personality, there's a supportive personality, and the cautious personality. So R stands for research. And when it comes to research, research is all about researching yourself, finding out who you are. Again, back to your values and your passion. When you start a goal or tackle a challenge, the first step is to understand who you are so you know how to move forward. Again, back to your values and your passions. So if you're a dominant personality, you're a driver, you're a doer. You're going to focus on the goal and the big picture. You're going to thrive by setting clear objectives and diving straight into action. So again, there's nothing wrong with being a dominant personality. In fact, it's fantastic. But I do have a question for you. How can a doer dismantle the big picture in their head and create action steps that will help a doer and or a driver appreciate each step along the way? The one thing about being a dominant person, and sometimes I have this characteristic in my personality, is that you just go and you go and you do, and you don't slow down to see each step that you're taking to get to where you got to go. And let me tell you something. Sometimes when you reach that goal, it's great, but I think that you would appreciate it more if you took the time to slow down and let go of the big picture and just work on getting there step by step. You're already going to do everything because you're a doer, but just slow down and appreciate each step because once you hit that goal, you're going to feel so good about yourself because you slowed down and you took each step and you dismantled the big picture. So how can a doer dismantle the big picture in their head and create an action step that will help a driver appreciate each step along the way? Okay. Now, if you have an inspiring personality, you're interesting, you're interactive, you bring big energy and creativity. You excel when you can brainstorm and collaborate during the research phase. So, how can an inspiring personality creatively build goals that are truly aligned with who they are? That's the question. Okay. Now, let me give you an example of a dominant personality versus an inspiring personality. And then we're going to stop there and move to the next letter in RISE. For example, if your goal is to start a new business, A dominant personality might focus on market analysis, while an inspiring personality might look at building a network and generating ideas. So that is the difference between the two. So, what personality type are you in those scenarios? Now, when I look at that, I'm more of an inspiring personality as opposed to a dominant personality. I inspire to like brainstorm and bring creative ideas to the room. And then the dominant side of me is not as big as the inspiring side of me because I am a doer, but I have to see where I'm going. I have to see step by step. So that's how I want you to look at that. All right. Now, we're going to move into the letter I. And I in the RISE acronym is about identifying what's holding you back. Okay. Or, what are the next steps? So I stands for identify, identifying what's holding you back from making the changes you want to make or what's needed to help you move forward. Now, we're going to use the DISC personalities again. This time we're going to use the supportive personality and the cautious personality. So the supportive personalities are steadfast and stable. Supportive personalities excel at grounding the process. They value stability and carefully assess the practical aspects. If you're a steadfast person, you are amazing for other people, but you may have a tendency to hold yourself back. Now, don't quote me, and this is not set in stone. This is a generalization. So the question is, what can you do to become a little more vulnerable, step out of your comfort zone to jump over those hurdles that are placed in front of you? Now, a cautious personality, they're competent and careful. They bring precision and structure. They thrive when identifying key details, risks, and opportunities. Once you find an opportunity to move forward, here's the question. What is scaring you to create action steps to move you in the right direction? Once you find an opportunity to move forward, what is scaring you to create action steps to move in the right direction? So the thing is that cautious personalities, they have to see everything. They have to understand all the details and all the risks and all the opportunities. But what if you let those things go and start creating action steps that do scare you, but those action steps will help you move forward? Now, I'm trying to push everyone out of their comfort zones when it comes to their personality. And what I'm suggesting is still scary, but if you take very small steps, you might be able to move closer to your goals. And you'll also see that it's not as scary as you think that it is. Now, there's another acronym it's called the ACE method. And it's just a way of like letting you know where you are in the process of change. There's so many different stages in change. And so A stands for awareness. You have to be real with yourself and you have to ask yourself, what's holding me back and where can I excel? And then C in this acronym ACE is for clarity. Pinpoint what success looks like to you. A vague goal, which we talked about at the beginning of the podcast, is I just want to get healthy. That's not going to work. You have to give that focus. What does healthy look like to you? What does finding a new job look like to you? What is creating a supportive community look like to you? Ask those questions first and then start writing small things down to get you closer and closer to what you're trying to build and what you're trying to create. Make it clear. And then E is engagement. That means that you're committed to your goal, not just mentally, but with actionable steps that you can take. Again, write down the action steps. Share it with someone that is safe and that you trust. And then make it happen. Make it real. Now, in the RISE theory, you have the R, the I, which we've already covered, research and identify. The next one is S, strategize. This is when you start to put plans together. You start to write down your goals. And I always suggest not to go over 2 or 3 goals. Set yourself up for success. Now, during planning a goal, strategizing, change happens in stages. And so there's all kinds of ways for you to break down your goals and to look at them. Because, first of all, you might just be thinking about a goal, you might just be considering getting healthy. We're just going to use that one for an example. That doesn't mean that you're actually ready to move forward. Then there are people who are actually preparing to get healthy. They're buying clothes and they're changing their diet and they're moving forward step by step. And then there are people who are actually in the stage of getting healthy. They're going to the gym, they're drinking the juices, they're drinking more water, they're eating the right foods, and then they have to move into maintaining it. So there's different stages when you're creating your goals. Now, the biggest thing about Time to Rise, Get Fit, and Stay There is that you have to start building your goals, and there should be no more than 2 to 3 goals. And you need to break your goals into manageable parts. And this is what we call mapping. So in the book, you're going to write down, I want to start working out. So you're going to put that in a bubble. And then from that bubble, you're going to add 3 bubbles outside of that. It's called mapping. And those bubbles are your action steps. Okay. So while you're doing all this mapping, and all this will be on the website that you can go and check out later on. But while you're doing this mapping, I want you to always think about your values and your passions. And the reason why I like asking you guys open-ended questions for you to think about is because I want you to anticipate obstacles and plan for them. You know how your life is. I don't know what's going on in your life and what's in your environment. So it's very important for you to anticipate obstacles and how you are going to handle those obstacles. I want you to use tools like habit stacking and time blocking to make your plans realistic. And what does that mean? I want you to start building habits one by one. That's what those action steps are. You're building new habits and you're trying to stay consistent. And then you have to do some time blocking, which means set some time aside to make sure that you're looking at your goal, you are doing your action steps, and that you plan out when your next goal and your next action step is going to happen. Strategizing also includes building a support system. Now, here's another question. Who can keep you accountable or inspire you when motivation is starting to fizzle away? That's what's going to be really important. That's how you're going to maintain your goals and maintain your action steps. All right, so we've talked about research or identify I, S strategize, now executing. E is for execute. Execute often reflects action. Okay, those are your action steps. So dominant personalities have the ability to drive results with determination and focus. A steadfast and supportive personalities are consistent and they follow through and they ensure the plan stays on track. Now, it's great to have these personalities, but again, always ask yourself, am I moving in the right direction? Are these according to my values? Am I moving closer to my goals? Now, simplify and commit. Your action steps should be simple and you should be able to easily commit to them. Focus on the most important steps first and do them consistently. That's building that habit. Don't overcomplicate or overwhelm yourself. Execution isn't about perfection. It's about momentum. It's about pushing yourself forward. And I think that's another reason. In fact, I know that's another reason why a lot of people fizzle after the first 2 weeks. They think it's supposed to be perfect, and it's not. It doesn't have to be perfect. The one thing that the person who is leading this 40-day fast that I'm on, the first thing that he said was, if you go consistently for 2 or 3 days, 10, 11, 12 days, and you're doing fine, and then that 13th day hits or that 14th day hits and you fall off the bandwagon, it's okay. You can jump right back on it. And when I heard that, that just gave me huge relief because that's where we beat ourselves up. We slow things down and we're just like, oh, I can't do this. And we just get rid of the goal. Use your unique personality to make things as easy as possible so that you can commit to it and build strong habits. Now that we've redefined the RISE theory and we've talked about different personalities, let's be honest, even with the best plans, there are going to be days when we just don't feel like it. Like this morning, when I was getting up to go work out, I just didn't feel like it, but I got up anyway. I literally pushed myself out of the bed. So here's the question for you. How do you stay on top of your own goals when motivation dips? For me, I have 3 alarms and they're back to back. They're within 5 minutes of each other. And when that first alarm goes off and I hit it, that second alarm goes off, one leg is out the bed. If I get to that third alarm, both my feet better be on the ground and I'm walking down the hallway to the bathroom so I can get out of here to go work out. Now, here are a few tactics. First, revisit your why. Remember that intrinsic motivation? Reconnect with it. Look at your deeper reason for starting. Okay. Number 2, focus on micro steps. When the big picture feels overwhelming, break it down into tiny pieces. Okay. You dominant people, you hear me? Instead of working out for a full hour, commit to 5 to 10 minutes at a time and then work your way up to that hour. All right. The next one, celebrate small wins. Progress fuels motivation, and it fuels that intrinsic motivation. Celebrate completing each small step because it will reinforce that habit that you're trying to build. It'll make you feel better about yourself, and it'll help you keep going. And here's a little 5-minute rule that's kind of cool. Promise yourself you'll work on a task for just 5 minutes. If you want to stop after that, that's fine. And then the next time you do it, add another 5 minutes and then another 5 minutes. And again, you start to build a habit. Just starting is the hardest part. So just start and start with 5 minutes. Next, visualize the outcome. Picture how you will feel after taking action. I love this one. I always use this one with all my goal setters. And let me give you a very simplistic one. When I'm out running with people and there's hills involved, no one wants to run a hill. But what I try and tell them is put your face down, look at the hill as though it's a flat surface. And once you get at the top of the hill, imagine how you're going to feel when you get up there. So it's the same thing. Picture yourself achieving your goal. And how does that make you feel inside? Picture it, visualize it, and stick with it, okay? That'll help you push through anything that is thrown in front of you. Now, here's another question. What's one small win you can celebrate today? Whether you're still on your resolutions or you've fallen off, what can you celebrate today? How will that help you take the next step? All right? Now, let's wrap this podcast up, okay? As we wrap up, let's recap the key points from today's episode. Intrinsic motivation is your most powerful driver. Tap into it by focusing on your deeper why. Why is this goal important to me? Next, RISE. That is my favorite acronym because I came up with it. So remember, RISE stands for Research, Identify, Strategize, and Execute. And it can actually be powered by the DISC personality model. So if you know what your personality is, you know how you're going to tackle each and every goal that you set for yourself. And the ACE framework is going to help you figure out where you are when it comes to change. Are you ready for change? Is it clear to you? And are you going to execute your action steps? Okay. And then just staying consistent with your goals means embracing small steps, celebrating small wins, and pushing through resistance. That means getting that foot out of the bed, 1 foot at a time, having the 5 alarms on, pushing yourself, reminding yourself what your values are, what your goals are, and visualizing what it looks like at the end. Okay, so that's all I've got for you guys today. I cannot believe I got through this podcast. So if I can get through this podcast, you can get through at least one action step today. But I want to talk about my upcoming episodes. We're going to have Vivian Ajahi back. She is the beautiful and talented personal trainer that her motto is look better naked. And she's going to join us and talking about working out, staying on top of your workouts, and what fitness means to different age groups. And I'm also really excited to have author Keisha Lonan who's going to be on here to talk about her new book, My Sisterhood Has Soldiers. It talks about building community, and it talks about a common thread that these three particular women in this book have. It's a very good read. And then we're going to have Olympian and my daughter, Nia Akins. She will be returning. She's going to be part of our empowerment segments. And then I also invited Mercedes Swan, career coach and owner of Career Love. And she's going to share tips on how to find your ideal career path. So I'm really, really excited. And remember, you will be able to get all this information from this podcast on therisershub.com and follow us on Instagram and YouTube at The Risers Hub. As always, thank you for listening to this crazy voice. Thank you for following and sharing your time with me. I appreciate you for all of that. Keep looking forward, surround yourself with amazing people, and as always, keep rising. Hey, thanks for tuning in. To learn more about the Risers Hub, check us out at therisershub.com or follow us on Instagram or TikTok at The Risers Hub. This podcast is meant for both education and entertainment purposes only. I am not a licensed therapist, so it's crucial to consult your physician, psychotherapist, or qualified health professionals. Until next time, and as always, take care and keep rising. If you're enjoying this podcast, I would like to ask you to please subscribe, like, and share. I mean, that's what they told me to say, so can you hook a girl up? Thanks. Bye.